Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in an
unprecedented
time where your individual liberties are being handed over in the name of a government safety net or for the common good. You're tired of being told what you're allowed to say, how to live your life, or how to raise your kids, and so are we. We are the Break the Bell podcast, and we believe your voice is your most powerful weapon. Join us weekly as we invade your ear holes with all the insanity that's going on in the world and expose the corrupt system that is hell-bent on keeping the power from you. You can check out Break the Bell every Monday night, streaming live on YouTube, or listen wherever you can find podcasts. Check out Break the Bell, and most importantly, never stop talking.
This episode will be completely taken out of context. Welcome to the Fact Check This podcast.
I completely hit the wrong link or the wrong button. It was like, oh shit, I'm not in the link or I'm not in the stream anymore. And then I was like, okay, how do I get back in the stream? And it was like, there's no link back into the stream.
Justin was the conductor of the Titanic, and he was like, I don't care if I'm sinking this ship. I'm leaving everyone behind. They got to figure out where their life raft is.
I just want to make sure that the magic that we made did get saved, because I get really, really freaked out when I'm leaving a stream room. So that's definitely saved, right? That's like a thing.
Oh, the original.
We got to contact NSA.
Yeah.
It's
okay, good.
I've got that queued up to complete downloading after we get done with this conversation.
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. It's the original 3-hour episode is that's good.
Yeah, dude, I'm not gonna lie.
Krav Maga. Sorry.
Last week when we went 2 hours, I was like, how did we milk this much conversation out of whatever topic it was?
The awesome thing about it was, like, at the end of it, it didn't feel like we had been talking for that long. Like,
no.
And that's how this has been.
It's like this is like 5 hours in. I'm like, I don't know, man. Put some speed bumps in. Give me something to think about.
And I'm 1.5 McAllens in, and I don't have any tolerance whatsoever because I'm a woman.
Because you're 5'8" in this big round.
Back to the 19th Amendment. She can't hold her liquor.
Yeah.
Well, if I showed
drunk women voting, it can't happen.
Yeah, if I showed you what was like in this area on my table right now, which is miraculously somehow not on camera. Maybe it is. My name is blocking it out.
Just show the 9 empty beer cans.
Well, I gotta move the shit. All right, fuck it. This is just like.
That's really cool.
There's more, but there's wires.
A lot of scissors.
Yeah, well, you know.
Never know when you're gonna need them. So, Justin, you were telling me about Krav Maga. What were you gonna say about Krav Maga?
Remember? So when I was in college. So remember, we had talked about how at the end of the first semester of my freshman year, I had the second highest GPA in our dorm with a whopping 1.7. So I also worked for the women's basketball team at Mississippi State, which meant that I had to have a minimum 3.0 GPA to maintain my scholarship. Now, you were allowed a semester of grace period to get it back up. So 1.7, obviously, if I maintain this level, I don't get to keep my scholarship. So I took a karate class because it seemed like easy credits, easy A. The problem that I had with karate is I'm 6'5".
Yeah.
And the only person in the class who was tall enough for me to spar with was on the football team. He was a linebacker on the football team.
God.
So he's about.
And you're super lean. So that's.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm 6'5", and currently I weigh 200 pounds. When I was in college, I weighed about 175.
Okay.
So I'm having to spar with a collegiate, like a Division I NCAA football player, linebacker, who's about 6'3", 225.
Wow.
And he is like solid everything. I got punched in the chest a lot.
Yeah.
Because, like we do the sparring and you're supposed to block and stuff, but he outweighs me by 50 or 60 pounds, and he is just solid, like
Like a
NFL.
ruck.
Right. He's solid NFL linebacker caliber type human being. And I'm 175 pounds soaking wet, like, spot shooter on the basketball team type. So I'm getting punched in the chest pretty regularly.
All right, let's pick up there. So you're getting punched in the chest, and then you reevaluate life.
Did you get an A?
And it was really cool it was really nice of him because he was on the football team and I worked for the basketball team. So we were both at the gym pretty much every day and in the training office pretty much every day. And like we were around each other outside of karate class. And so like he would feel really bad when he would punch me like really hard in the chest and could see the breath physically leaving my body as I'm like, oh my God. He was always super nice about it. And the one time, all right, so this is like even more fucked up. The one time that the coach or that our sensei like paired us up randomly, and somehow I got paired up with this like 5'2", 90-pound female.
She's also not great.
She scratched me across the I still have a scar 20 fucking years later.
Because that's what we have to resort to.
Wrist.
Okay, when there's nothing else at your disposal, you use the Coke nail. It's just okay. That's how I get out of all my tough situations in life.
I still have a fucking scar 20 years later.
Jim's like, I've never seen this side of Amanda before.
I'm like, well, you have one of two options.
So, and like what was really cool about karate was like the first week of class, our sensei had us like do a bunch of running, and I run 5Ks. I ran the 1 and 2 mile and the 100 and 300 kilometer hurdles when I was in high school. Plus, I was a basketball player, football player, baseball player.
Geez, humble brag.
So I played a little bit of everything.
Play hockey?
We didn't have hockey.
Sad.
Too far south.
Here's the thing. I'm from Georgia. I've played lake hockey. That shit's fun as fuck. Way more fun than street hockey because there's no like car.
Street hockey's lame. Yeah.
We don't have hockey in Kentucky. It's just
no. My weak little southern ankles were like, oh shit, what the fuck is this? Well, all the lake residents were like, it was seriously like the Mighty Ducks movie. It was like just like, and I'm over there like, I was the goalie. I was
the goalie too.
So like
carry on, Justin.
I played goalie in intramural soccer when I was in college. That ended up with me spending a week in the hospital with a collapsed lung.
Oh, dude.
It's not fun. That's not fun.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like get some protective gear.
Okay, so the ball was rolling out and I run up and like just dive on it as this guy was coming up to strike. So I dive on the ball as he comes up to strike. So I get the ball and he gets my ribs. And so I saved us a goal. Yay for me. I go over the sidelines. I'm like, I just got to catch my breath. Like I just can't breathe. Just let me lay down for a second and catch
breathing is temporary. Victory is forever. Get over it.
But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I'm like, just let me lay down and catch my breath. I'll be good. Yeah. And I never could catch my breath. And finally, one of the guys on our team, or it was a intramural fraternity soccer team. One of the guys who was like in the nursing program or some dumb shit. He's like, the fact that you haven't been able to catch your breath yet is probably not a good sign. You should probably go to the emergency room. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. I've just got like broken ribs or something. Like they're not going to be able to do anything for me at the emergency room. I get to the emergency room and they do x-rays and shit. And they're like, all right, so we got good news and bad news. And they're like, which do you want first?
Good news is you're not dead. Bad news is you owe
us
$37,000.
effectively. I was like, I don't give a shit. Just tell me what's going on. He's like, okay, so well, the good news is you don't have broken ribs. I'm like, okay, so why the fuck can't I catch my breath? He's like, the bad news is you have a collapsed lung. He's like, so we're gonna have to put this chest tube in and do all this bullshit, and you're gonna have to stay here for a few days while we reinflate your lung. And I go, God damn it! I should have just gone home. This is some fucking bullshit.
I don't even like this sport.
And he goes, no. If you had gone home, you would have died overnight because your lung would have filled with fluid and you'd have drowned in your own blood. I was like, well, still sounds better than being stuck in a hospital for 3 days. Like, are you really doing this?
Fucking boring. They're so boring. The most, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, they stuck a chest tube in, and the chest tube was actually all right. Like, they took this like this metal rod and like rammed it in.
I was going to say, do you have a scar on the side of your? Look at there.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, they stick the chest tube in, and
it sucks all the blood out. It's fucking gross.
I don't do needles. So the IV, my girlfriend at the time, and my mom's best friend who worked at the hospital, all three of them were like laying on top of me, holding me down while the nurse stuck the IV.
I don't want it. I don't want it.
Yeah, I don't.
And it's like, well, you got quite a bit of energy for a collapsed lung, dude.
Wait, how is the needle worse than the tube? That's the thing that
it's icky.
Well, I know they're both icky, but the tube would be considerably more painful.
I'm trying to find
when you're
something
coming
like,
at me with a hammer and a chisel,
so like,
I can
the
respect
tube
that,
is like they took this and they just like went whap and they stuck it in there. Okay, whatever. And then they ran the tube in. But the needle,
first of all, when you're in the hospital,
I don't do needles.
When you're in the
I have
hospital,
tattoos, and I didn't look at any of the tattoos that I have when they did it because I don't do needles. Like that's.
Well, here's the thing, Justin. I'm going to run some cover for you. When you're in the hospital and you're under some serious trauma, you're tripping balls. Your body's already given you like so many chemicals. You're like, whoa. Where when they shove a fucking 1/8-inch fucking tube through your ribs, you're like, hey, how are you doing? But if you can see them coming at you with a needle, you're like, I remember that. Not a fan. Then it creates
there's
a
a lot
reaction
to that.
from you.
There's a lot to that because he pulls out this like this rod, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna stick this between your ribs. I'm like, what?
Sweet, fucking
and then
go
it's like,
for it.
And it goes in. And it's like, oh, that didn't feel real good, but it's done. Whereas like with the needle, like they have this little needle, and they're like,
and it's in there,
running it into a vein, and I can see them doing it. Like, no.
Like, I'm not a fan of needles, for example. But when I had to go get hooked up, when I had to go get hooked up with like an IV for a few hours when I was, coming down with the coof to get the monoclonal antibody treatment, I was just like, here's my fucking arm.
Yeah.
You find it, you stick it, you do it. I'll deal with it. But it doesn't mean I have to fucking watch. And so it's just like, here it is. And by the way, I feel pretty fucking good at where my veins are. Like, you should be able to find them with ease. And so I was just like, here you go. And I was like, cool. You got crown molding and this boom. And I was like, oh, cool. It's done. And because same idea, I didn't want to, I wasn't like, I need to see it go in. No.
Yeah.
It was just like, I know this, but the difference now is like the needles they use aren't even needles. They're plastic, hollow, fucking like flexible tubes.
No, they're little butterfly needles.
That's even worse.
Little butterfly needles?
Not what I got. They were plastic, but they would flex, so they didn't have to.
Oh, those guys. Yeah. So you're not talking about the actual needle itself. You're talking about the tube to which it's attached. The fluids go through.
Yeah, but even what it went in my arm when they pulled it out, it was like all like biodegradable, like plastic shit or whatever, to where it was like, oh, dude, you don't even really have to have your arm fully out. You can just like relax it because the shit will curve. And I'm
no,
like,
sir, you were making me feel really stabby. Really, really stabby.
Better
I-
get a
I-
little pokey up in here.
I
Like,
will say that
some light
the
stabbing.
problem the problem with IVs is the fact that they just remain in there, and so if you just kind of look over it, that's it makes you a
So
little
that's
squicky.
when they put the IV in, they kept blankets and stuff over my arm so I couldn't see it, because like if I could see it, I was
Yeah.
freaking the fuck out. My dentist office, they have very explicit instructions that I do not do Novocaine. Period.
Yeah.
Like, you do not give me the shot. They had a new chick at my old dentist, and she didn't look at the notes.
Ooh, bitch, don't read.
And so she had me laid back in the chair, and she's like, "Okay, open your mouth." And she sticks these cotton swabs in, and I'm like, "All right, this isn't the way we normally do this, but whatever. I'm gonna go with it." And then out of the corner of my eye, I see her coming at me with this needle, and I was out of the chair like that, and I had her by her hand, and like I had her arm holding the needle away from me. I was like, "I don't do that." And her eyes got like that big around. She's like,
You're gonna take me out to dinner first, lady.
Yeah.
She was like, okay, I'm really sorry. I didn't know that we don't do that.
And I
Let me
want
put
the
it
12 ounce.
She's like, let me put it away. I'm like, yes, you're gonna put it away. This is not happening. I saw her at a bar like 6 years later.
Oh no. No, you don't want that. You don't want that.
I saw her at a bar like 6 years later, and she goes, "No needle guy." I'm like, "I'm glad you remembered."
Yeah, and she's
Yeah.
like, "You're the fucker who's afraid of needles. You non-masculine."
You were
No,
the
I'm joking.
one case that they taught me about in med school. Glad I
All she had to
stayed
do was
away
read
for
my
that.
chart, and she would have
Fucking
known. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't like it required a whole lot of effort.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm more of a like I already don't want to be here, so therefore whatever the fuck's gonna go down, I trust. And maybe it's also a factor of like where I live. I know they see like hundreds of people or thousands of people a year, where I'm like, I'm just the chances of you like missing or fucking your shit up, like it's your job, and I know it's not fun to get your body like pierced or like poked or prodded. It's never like, dude, I can't wait to like go to the doc and have them like shove shit in me. But I also think at the same time, it's like this is kind of the thing that you do, and I respect for the fact that like 10,000 hours makes you an expert on something. I'm like,
But it doesn't
"Ah,
always.
What are you
well,
going to school for?
I would imagine that they've got at least 6,000 hours, so it's like we're working on our way to professionalism.
It doesn't always. It just yeah. I mean, sometimes doctors are not great.
Well, no, I totally agree with that, but they're dealing with like 0 hours, so I'm
Yeah.
less great, and I'm coming in like, whoa, fix
All right,
me up.
So we've established my degree is in ag business with a focus on economics, and Jim is a degenerate and just kind of runs by the seat of his pants. What are you going to
No
school
doubt.
for?
So I got I went to USC, and I was actually, we discussed this off live. I acted, and then my MA Humanities at Chicago, and then right now I'm majoring in or getting my PhD in political science. So a lot of useless stuff, but a lot of fun stuff. So
She's gonna learn us how politics work, Justin.
so I'm gonna be a doctor, basically. Yeah, I'm gonna be a doctor.
She's gonna
It's
have a doctorate in bullshit.
It's the bullshittiest bullshit because my field is political theory, which is
Oh wow.
just because that's where the Machiavelli is.
What are the Trump
So
classes
when my
like?
roommate and I both graduated the same year, and I got a job, and he decided to go to grad school. And then 2 years later, when he graduated grad school with his master's, I was making like 70 grand a year, and he couldn't get a job because he was overqualified with his master's. Like,
Yeah. No, I walked away from a very well-paying job to go back to get my PhD. So yeah, I knew some of what I was getting into at any rate.
I kind of suspected.
Yeah. Because I mean, again, as it's not about the piece of paper for me, and it never has been. I love the process, for better or worse. So, I love the experience. I love the sense of the academic community. So yeah.
Yeah, no, you're very much in tune with like the analytical side of deciphering logical arguments in a political realm, which is highly commendable. And I might have even gotten that wrong because I'm a fucking moron. But I choose to side on or err on the side of wait, what the fuck was that? I think these fucking guys are fucking morons. I'm just gonna put out a fucking tweet and call them retards.
See, I understand where
no
Amanda's coming
degree
from,
needed.
because when I was living in Mississippi, I had tried to get involved with the Department of Agriculture through Mississippi State University to do some research projects in the little town that I was living in. They had like a soybean farm, effectively, and doing
a bunch of soy boys, eh?
Yeah, so doing cross.
I'm sorry. I want to mute myself for that. I want to mute myself for that.
You're telling the story.
So doing like cross genetic breeding between different soybean hybrids and trying to develop really specific breeds that worked for extreme drought and extreme like hurricane-like conditions, because in Mississippi you get a combination of both. So like I tried to get into the program to do that, and I ran into a similar problem that my buddy that had the graduate degree, the master's, was running into. I had too much in-field experience.
Oh, interesting.
And they wouldn't let me in the program because I worked so much in the grain industry especially with soybeans, and I had trading licenses through the USDA and the Chicago Board of Trade and stuff like that. I couldn't get into these graduate programs and these like research programs because I was considered too qualified in the professional field. Like,
yeah,
that stuff is so fucking retarded to me. Like, just because I have a USDA, Chicago Board of Trade trading license, and I have like USDA certifications for grain grading and stuff like that. Like, how does that disqualify me from participating in a graduate studies program doing genetic breeding on, or cross gene breeding on different types of soybeans? Like, why am I excluded from that?
The idea behind it is that so they only have so much funding, they only have so many spots, and so rightly or wrongly, the notion is that you've already been trained. So their job is to train new people who are going to be other versions of you, but you have already been trained. So for them, it's not going to create, new researchers by admitting you. And I think that is silly, but that's kind of the rationale.
Right. Like, that is super silly, because if you're looking for somebody who actually knows the genetics of soybeans, and you want to develop something that is legitimately drought resistant or like high moisture resistant, don't you want somebody that has been in the field, that has seen what comes out of that? Like,
you do, but pedagogically, I mean, there are pedagogical concerns they have to adhere to. I've thought, occasionally I've entertained the notion of just continuing to go back for multiple PhDs, but of course at some point funding kind of either dries out or it's not enough to cover for living expenses. But I've totally considered that.
All right, so for the non-pedagogical informative souls out there, what the fuck does pedagogical mean?
Pedagogical?
You said it, not me.
It's an algorithm, Your Honor. It means it's related to teaching, related to instruction.
10-4. Carry on.
That's all.
For us
Yeah.
intellectuals, while we entertain Jim and his.
I'm trying to grow my
Yes.
brain, and you know what? It was little before, but it's growing.
Jim and his GED.
yeah. I have a different term for it, but whatever. I call it GDE for goddamn excellence, but y'all make with it what you will. This is not going to be releasable.
No, it's fair. You know what? Everything we do is content, and so that's
Okay.
just content.
Word.
All right, Amanda, were you always kind of... All right, I'm going to preface this with my own kind of backstory.
Mm-hmm.
I was 100% nerd,
Mm-hmm.
but I was also very athletic. Hazard of being 6'5", 170 pounds. And so I kind of fit the mold of a jock, but I grew into that.
Mm-hmm.
And as a kid, I was much more of a nerd.
Okay.
And so I was completely a nerd all the way through high school, but I was
So you were 20% virgin, and you ran your way into 67% non-virgin.
Chad. Yeah.
Or Chad. Yes. Better terminology. Fuck yeah.
More or less, yeah. Like,
see, I'm a dum-dum. I lost virginity early.
I was 100% a nerd, but I kind of grew into being a jock as well. So, so I got to be a cool nerd, but at my roots, I was always kind of a nerd. Did you have like the awkward growing up as being like smarter than everybody else and knowing that you were smarter than everybody else and trying to like for me, I tried to deliberately not be smarter than everybody else because it just felt weird to make the smart kids look and feel fucking stupid because they basically were. Like, I grew up in a small town. The valedictorian of our class was effectively a fucking retard. But she was the smartest kid in our class as far as, the rest of the class went. So like, I would deliberately not do shit because I'm not going to be that kid, right? Like, does that make sense? Okay.
It makes sense. But to answer your question, I did not think that I was smart for most of my life, and I'm still not really sure what smart really means. I know that I have things that I love, and I'm very passionately curious about them, and I like to ask questions. But no, for the vast majority of my life, I did not believe that I was smart, and in fact thought that I was probably of a lower intellectual caliber. So for me, it was always trying to prove my intelligence, if only to myself, but then also sort of to flex to other people, like you do when you're a kid, in whatever capacity.
See, I found that hard to believe just from the conversations that we have tonight. Like, I can't imagine you not being the smart kid. And so like for me, I would find myself saying things to the smart kids that were extremely derogatory because in my mind, like, they were clearly a couple levels below me intellectually.
Right.
And so like I would have to stop myself from being mean because they weren't at my level. And like from our conversation, and even with Jim, like Jim is a self-proclaimed dummy, but he's not dumb. Like,
Jim's bright. Yeah, no, he's smart.
He gets
I'm an
shit.
aspiring midwit.
He says that, but like he gets shit that the people that I would think of as intelligent don't get. So like the conversation that we're having, like y'all have an intellectual understanding of the way the world works, the way science works, the way like media and the news report things work, that some of the people who we might consider intelligent people that we grew up around, they don't get it. And I get it. Like that's the red versus blue pill thing.
The proclamation of information is always something that should be questioned by any and all curious minds.
Yeah.
And if
So
that's all it
like,
takes
that's
to
something
sound
that I
smart,
always ran up
I got a
against.
boatload of that shit.
Like that's always something that I ran up against as a kid, was the things that I knew and saw and understood. The ones who were smarter than me didn't pick up on and didn't see it, and I'm like, it's literally right there in black and white. Like, what are you missing?
And
what are you missing here?
that
So did like, and just from, like I'm saying, just from the conversation that we're having, clearly you probably caught some of that, even if you may not have considered yourself to be smart. You know, like you may have thought you were striving to get to that level. I would say you probably were at that level, and you were pushing past what those other people were at. Like, how does that kind of like shape your worldview? Because I look at some of those people now, 20 years later, I'm like, how have y'all still not caught on? How have you still not caught on to the shit that I was talking about literally 20 fucking years ago?
Yeah. I think so. Looking back now, I can say I was very hyper vigilant. I was observant. I was probably, you would use the word precocious. And the part of the reason for that was that I kind of had an upbringing where it never made any sense, or rather, authority was very random and very arbitrary. And so from my earliest days, I knew that someone could be making a rule, and that was the rule, but that didn't mean that there was any logic or justification or rightness behind it. And so my job was always to figure out whether the rule made sense. And if it didn't, make a rule of my own, and then try to not get caught breaking the rule. And so that's still my worldview. I don't think I've really ever grown out of that. In that regard, I do think I had a fundamentally different experience than some others who didn't really have that innate skepticism of authority, or rather that innate kind of almost atheism toward authority, if that makes sense. Like
inquisitive nature.
I say, I'm trying to
regardless
look
of
at
the
Jim's
source.
face and see if I can get a read on it, because like my dad was, to some extent, whether it was jokingly or seriously, he was a kind of a conspiracy theorist type. Like when the Mel Gibson movie Conspiracy Theory came out, and we watched that movie, then my dad is like, "Oh, come here and look at these books that I've got," and like all this other stuff that like kind of ties into the stuff that's in that movie. And so like the questioning of authority is kind of something that you're kind of getting at.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to gauge Jim's face and see if that was something that was kind of a part of his upbringing as well, because he has a little bit of a hinting of it, but I'm not sure how.
I
to what
grew up.
extent that goes.
I grew up under a basis of authority. The male the male figures in my life were the established. Or let me see how I can say this. The dudes I looked up to when I was a child were the male figures of authority for not only me, but for the general public, because I grew up in a law enforcement household. Whether it be local, state or federal level. And so for me, it was just an immediate sense of like fear of trying to do the right thing while avoiding the negative backlash. Because I knew that they were more than capable, willing, and ready to make a correction when a correction was needed. And so,
When little Jimmy got out of line.
yeah, which happened all the fucking time, believe it or not. But at the same time, as I grew older and I learned more about like my father and others that were in that role, I was like, y'all were far more blatant with your disregard for authority and reason and structure than I was ever led to believe that this is the way that in which I should live to avoid reprimand. And that's when I decided to agree to the fact that most of this was bullshit. Once I learned that my real dad was a police officer who engaged in street racing, it made it difficult for me to listen to him tell me that laws were important. Once I learned that my stepdad, who was a federal agent, used to use his pilot license to fly personal planes in illegal manners over bodies of water in North America, I'll just leave it at that. I was like, I don't think this is something that I should really be that fearful of as far as the reprimand based on your actions versus your virtue. Not to say anything about them, because the way that I always saw it was that you're only alive once, live to the fullest, and it's not me to be the judge of, your hypocrisy or whatever you want to call it. I don't see them as hypocrites. I see them as guys that made the most out of whatever tools they had at their disposal,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
fucking respect them for it. But once that became clear, I realized that I didn't need to be the virtuous asshole that I was striving to be, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
While at the same time understanding and respecting the level of which that authoritative measures would be carried out. The only difference is that I knew the faces that would be doing them. Makes it a little different at that point. Most people just see authority as this like shadow figure that is like they have no soul, they have no mind, they have no thought, they have no nothing. They just do what they're told. And it's not the fucking case either.
Yeah.
They're people with mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, and they're no different than us. They just happen to earn a paycheck in a wildly different way than we do.
Authority figures. This is the interesting thing, is that authority is ephemeral, but people who have, or people who are the arbiters of authority, are not. I feel like so often we conflate that, where the people who are arbiters of authority are in fact authority. This is not my original idea. This is from Hannah Arendt. But the notion that there is this more enduring thing called authority, and then you have people who over time cycle in and out of being the stewards of that authority. I think for me it's important to make that distinction, because you're absolutely right, where it's that it changes the way that you see things.
Yeah, and I totally understand, and I've kind of made this like a point ahead of a lot of arguments recently. Is like, look, and if you decree me as like you're not a libertarian, well, guess what? I hold no value in your declaration of my libertarianism. I don't care. I hold less value in that terminology than I do in my own experiences. And if my own experiences displace what you think is factual, then that's on you. And I don't care, because that's now your current struggle to figure out. I've already figured my shit out. Life is fucked up. There's not a perfect answer. If there was a silver bullet, how easy would it be to serve it up on a fucking platter. The reason why there isn't a silver bullet explanation to things is because there's nuance, there's individuals, there's life experiences, there's unrealized expectations, there's hopes that are never met, and all of us are left as humans to figure it out on our own without a rule book, without a manual, and no one knows what the fuck they're talking about until you yourself have understood what you are trying to find. And I don't mean to get so ephemeral here, especially based on what we were talking about for the last like 5 hours. But you never know where you're gonna fucking catch me. I might just find myself in a fucking thought loop.
No,
So-
Justin's doing a great job because you're turning this back into like conversations with Bill Crystal. So this is great. No, that's I used to listen to that. And sometimes he's got good people on.
By the way, I fucking hate Bill Crystal, but carry on.
I grew up reading.
We
the
could go
Weekly
down
Notebook.
that. We could go down that rabbit hole because
But now here's the thing. I only hate Bill Crystal because he went up against Scott Horton, and because I love Scott Horton, therefore I must hate Bill Crystal, and that
But he
goes
had-
back into a
See,
only.
I was
There's
one-
only
no,
one
no,
guy
no,
that's
I was
gonna
100%
totally.
neocon for
There's-
a number of years.
Oh, yeah.
There's only one guy that only Amanda and I know about that hears what I say now and is gonna be like, "This motherfucker," and I'm looking at you, Joe. We did
I
it,
was
Joe.
like I was a Bush Republican in 2004,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like in hindsight, that was pretty cringy, but also at the same time, I got to attend the Kentucky State Republican Convention and meet a lot of really cool people, and like I was literally the youngest representative at the state convention.
You're
Like
on.
that was really fucking cool, and it was a lot of fun, and I got to meet like Mitch McConnell, and it
Why? Okay, so a minute ago you were talking about like, hey, little stab contest. Like you didn't decide that that was a good time to maybe implement it, like a little, just a little
see-
stabby poo, just a
See,
little.
at that time, I had gone to a Bush rally, and I actually traveled to campaign for Bush at that time. Like I went out and
See-
stumped for Bush.
See, at the
um,
time I was in college, when I heard about a Bush rally, it meant something totally different. It
You
meant
know,
that
I
they
founded
were
a college
boycotting
Republican
shaving
group.
for a few weeks. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
you know what's great about having been a neocon who supported the war in Iraq is you can see now the parallels between all of that and the biofascism under which we're living today, and all of the we found WMDs, we found a new variant. If you don't get, if you don't do X, Y, or Z, you're unpatriotic. If you don't get vaccinated, you're unpatriotic. All of this.
If you
over and
walk into
over
this
and
building, you're an insurrectionist.
that
Yes,
is
exactly.
the blessing of having been a neocon, which I also was, that you're able to look at it now and be like, it's always the same, and it's always used to increase surveillance. It's
See, in
always used.
2004, I was a Bush Republican. I
Mhm.
campaigned. I traveled to campaign for him. Like I was all into it. I founded a college Republicans group, all of that shit. And then by the time I graduated college in 2006, 2007, the wars never ended. Like
Yeah.
nothing ever changed. All the
Just like
things that
COVID.
all the things that I thought I was going out and stumping for in 2004 never came to fruition. And so by the time I graduated college, I was pretty much done. And then when the Bush presidency when the Bush presidency came to an end and the RNC decided to put McCain up against Obama, it's like,
Mhm.
is this a fucking joke?
Yes.
Number one, you've got the Bush, tail end of his presidency bailing out all of these big corporations for no fucking reason. Like there's no there's no fucking excuse
Well,
for this
there are a lot of
whatsoever.
reasons. There are a lot of reasons. But
A lot of reasons, no good excuse. And so I'm looking
Mhm.
at that and I'm like, okay, if the small government Republicans are bailing out these massive corporations, they do not represent anything that I actually believe in.
yeah.
And then they put McCain up against Obama, and I'm like, this dude's not gonna fucking win. Like, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what they do. This dude's not fucking winning. And
Yeah.
then I just checked out, and I tuned back in 2000, and at the time I'm seeing Ron Paul in his debates and crushing Rudy Giuliani and just like killing it, and it was amazing. And the GOP specifically is doing everything they can to undermine him and root him out. And then you fast forward. So at that point, I'm done. Like I paid attention to the campaigns and the debates and everything leading up to the 2008 election because my boss at the time was really into it. And straight out of college, I had a really good paying job. So because that's what my boss was into, I paid attention because they gave me something to talk to him about and kind of kept me in, in good graces. After that election, when Obama and I knew all along, like there's no way Obama's going to lose. He's going to carry this easily. So then as soon as that's done with, I just check out. Like I'm fucking done. I can't believe that these pansy ass bastards had the gall to run fucking John McCain. So I'm done. And then in 2012, I think, okay, is there a chance of redemption? And then they put up fucking Mitt Romney. And it's like, okay. I can never take the Republican Party seriously ever again. Like if they thought Obama light was the solution to Obama, they are so out of touch
Here's,
with
excuse me. Hold
with
on, Justin.
the
Excuse
country
me.
that I can't fucking do this anymore. Like period.
Here's let's take the listeners back in time like it's a fucking time capsule and let's see what you were up against. The reason why the Republicans couldn't win was like just listen to this like hard-hitting right in the solar plexus political ad. I think this should be taught in all poli-sci classes.
Probably is.
And Amanda, like
I'll let you
you're
know.
all right, so this was the official Obama commercial, for lack of better words. Tell me what you think about this, and let me know if you would have done it differently.
Mm.
Obama re-election campaign. Here we go.
Y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all. I'm blickety black, blacker than black, I'm blacker than black, yo, because I'm black and I'm black.
Dude, you got my vote.
Real cannon.
You got my vote?
I assume that was not played in all media markets.
Well, there were some words that Obama said, but I edited them out because I didn't want to get copywritten.
That was run in Chicago, Atlanta, New York City, Detroit.
Yeah. I represent Atlanta, and that's all we heard. I was just like, well, how the fuck is anybody going to vote against this guy?
Simply, you don't play it in all media markets. And back then, there was a such thing as local coverage. And this is what I said that I was in political theory. My second field is American politics. This is what gets me about American political behavior models, is that they are not adjusted to accord with the fact that our media consumption patterns and habits are entirely different now. So before, you could in fact have an ad like that and reasonably expect that it would really only be seen by the target voters, which do not include you, in those particular media markets.
Yeah.
Whereas today, that gets circulated all over the everywhere. And so you do have to adjust in terms of your messaging. Who's going to see this? Well, everyone can potentially see it. That's why we have to coordinate with the media and have, meetings, say, air this, don't air this, say it this way, don't say it that way. And both parties do that to various effects.
100%. And that's why because everything's about polling, they put things out and they're like, what was the response to this? And then it gets like needled through, and it goes through the thought factory, and they're like, okay, well now we know, based on because if anybody's ever been a part of like a political campaign, they have like multi-level like renditions of, okay, so that was 1A, what's 1B, what's 2A, what's this. And so that went out, and it was like, okay, well, obviously people love the fact that he's black. What is the feedback from 1A, and then what do we get from 2B? And this is what we got after this. And I think that they really thought about it, and they were like, let's fucking hammer it home, because we're not taking
Okay, so this
we're not taking no shit from nobody. So I just, real quick, Justin, I just want to play the second political campaign from Barack Obama, and this might answer some questions on how we got such the president that we got.
Yo, I'm black and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black and you're black and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black and you're black and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, and I'm black.
Okay, so
I mean, he did a lot of field research. He thought about it. It's millions of dollars. Like, they can't be wrong.
Jim,
so
it
the
worked.
question I was going to ask is, how do we get from that point in 2012 to 2020?
Demonize white people.
Where there is
To
what?
2020.
Sorry.
Where there
I
is
shouldn't have.
an
I shouldn't have shot my-
exponential increase in black male voters voting for Donald Trump.
We got to make Donald Trump black.
Generally, I think, and I haven't looked at models for this specifically, although
I know the
tangentially
answer,
I kind
but
of have.
I wanted to pose it as a general question.
Well, it's first of all, it's a different demographic. I mean, you can talk about black voters, but that's like talking about white voters. Black male voters, it's like talking about white male voters. I mean, you know, if we're more specific, we're talking about a separate group of voters. Although there might be some crossover between the voters that are turned on by the "I'm blacker than black" ad, just because it is so, out of the mainstream. It's quirky, it's loud, and people who would appreciate Donald Trump. So that's part of it.
Right. So
I'm sorry.
Jib's too drunk.
Damn
You
it.
completely spoiled the whole thing.
Nope. Yep. Okay. And 1 and 2 and
The First Steps Act was the kind of primary kicking off point for the male black community. Because if you think about it, who is the most adversely affected by the war on drugs? It is young black men who really have not done anything wrong. Especially when you look at a lot of the ones who are currently in jail, when that is transposed with the way state regulation has changed over the last 5 years, with the way drug law is implemented, especially in relation to marijuana. The First Step Act was a huge step in the right direction for black men.
Mm-hmm.
But what really fucked Trump over was, I dropped my pen. If you couldn't hear that, what really fucked Trump over was black women. So going back to the original stream.
Well, I can tell you stories too. I've got stories from
What
Chicago.
is the problem with women in this situation? Because, like, obviously the black men look at this and say, okay, what this administration has done is the complete antithesis of this white supremacist narrative that has been pitched for literally 4 years.
Mhm.
He has done more to help our community get out of this hole than any fucking Democrat ever has for the last, I don't know, since what, 1994, when Biden first implemented the war on drugs. Um, how does the female community, for the black female community, let me be like super specific, how do they look at this same thing and vote
All
against
right,
Trump?
Amanda,
so-
get first of all, get hella black and then answer this question. Thank you.
This is a stream, so I will not be getting, as you say, hella black,
Well,
because that would be
fine.
incriminating. However,
What?
I can edit it out.
I-
Why would that make you a criminal?
no, it's all right. It's all right.
Sorry.
I do recall having a conversation with several people.
Rachel
when I was-
Dolezal has proved anything, it's that you can be as hella black as you want and even start an OnlyFans page and just show pictures of your feet and you can still like cash in on it. So
I
go
don't
for it.
identify as any race, so
Like go all out.
I am the
Are you
amazing.
are you
race,
like Larry
that's all.
Bird? You're clear.
Yeah, I'm just radiant. I don't know. I'm the amazing race. That wasn't a coded thing. That was just me saying I don't identify as a race. Okay, so there was a woman problem that Trump had, and I think it's pretty clear why. Is that he had lewd comments. Donald Trump never really won much of the female vote, relatively speaking. But in particular, I'm recalling a conversation that I had with a guest at the restaurant where I worked in Chicago, a day after Election Day, where she was talking to me, confiding in me, and she said, I just don't understand how any woman could vote for Donald Trump, especially against Hillary Clinton. And she's just going on like, as a woman. And she kept repeating, as a woman, you have to. And I really wanted to say, well, as a woman, I feel like you have the agency to decide whom to vote for and whom not. And I didn't vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Clinton. But there was that, as a woman, beat out so much. And as a woman meant, there's no way that you can vote for this misogynistic pig. You just can't. No, but that was the mindset.
So in your mindset, was
Mhm.
he ever that?
Was he ever a misogynistic pig?
Yeah.
I mean, he said some gross things. The thing about Trump is that a lot of the reasons that people hated him is because of stuff that he said. I was more critical of his policy in general because I feel like that is the more meaningful metric, and I didn't approve of a lot of his policies. So, yeah.
The shit that he said was boorish and outlandish and ridiculous, but I never viewed it as anything more than just pure fucking comedy. Whereas the policy itself, that's the stuff that I took issue with.
Yeah.
And we talked about this in my the morning show that I do. We talked about none of us are particularly Trump supporters, but we kept getting backed into this corner where we were having to support him because the left was being so fucking outrageous with the dumb shit that they would say. Like I felt like I was being put in this position where I'm like, would you stop being so retarded that you put me in a position that I have to defend him for shit that he didn't actually say?
The way that I always tried to work around that successfully or no, is that I would try to pivot to, you know what, there are more important things for which we should criticize him. And so that way it didn't sound like something I didn't want to be doing. I didn't want to be defending him. But I tried not to even have it be interpreted as such, just by saying, here's what we should really be focusing on, not even addressing what someone else had said. And sometimes I was successful, sometimes I wasn't. But
That's like, I felt like I would get backed into this corner where what I'm trying to say is I am as critical of Trump, if not more so, than what the person I'm arguing with is. But I'm having to defend him because they keep coming from the most retarded angle that you could possibly bring an argument from. And so I'm stuck in this, like, I'm getting backed into this corner of defending something that doesn't fucking exist at all. But
it's a distraction. It's a distraction.
Right.
And
I'm
the
having
reason
to defend against a distraction that doesn't exist. And I'm coming across like this Trump supporter when the reality of it is none of this bullshit is even true to begin with. And we shouldn't be having this conversation, period. Like, we should be actually talking about the legitimate
are they
policy and things that are going on in the world, not this dumb shit that doesn't fucking exist.
the reason that we had the distraction, though, is because the things that should have been targets of our criticism of Trump were also things for which we could criticize the Democrats. And that was the problem, is that if we called out Donald Trump for doing all of these, ridiculous, supporting various policy measures, they're very similar, if not identical, to ones that Democrats support. The Republicans are doing the same thing that Democrats are doing. So we need the distraction.
And at the end of the day,
otherwise,
Donald Trump really was a Democrat who ran as a Republican. I mean,
yeah, Donald Trump was a 90s Dem.
Yep.
That was running as a today's Republican.
Whatever.
It's not that difficult. Not that difficult. It's simple if you've been paying attention. It's difficult if you try to explain it. And that's why there's a litany of podcasts trying to explain why, well, we got to think about things in this nature. We got to fuck libertarianism. We got to have post-libertarianism. It's like, I mean, look, I love all the people involved in that. I love Pete Quinones. I love Tho Bishop. Tho Bishop is my goddamn homeboy. He's a Georgia Bulldog, and well, I'm a little bit partial.
I think we need
so
to ask
I hope
Amanda
you
what
see
her
this.
opinion is of post-libertarianism.
My point is that, and I think I said this on an earlier stream, whether it was recorded or not, and that is that everybody feels like a more explicit desire to be correct on prescribing or deciphering things. Like all of a sudden now it's the most pressing moment of all time ever. No, it's not. I bought into it for the last 2 years. It fucking isn't. You know why? Because the people that I listen to that tell me that it's the most pressing time of all time, they're not doing shit. They're not controlling nothing. They're trying to get a message out there to sway ideas, and that's great. That's wonderful. Keep doing it. But you're wrong. You're wrong because whether or not people buy in, the thing continues to go.
Right.
So
I'm the one who's actually building his entire stable and putting up the garden and moving out in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah,
You
get
the rest of these guys are just talking about it on a fucking podcast.
You get no points 100 years from now for being the first one to call it out to let people know, hey, people are doing things that are fucked up. Oh, is this the first time ever? No. We can withstand far more than what our books from Mises and Hop tell us that are inconsolable. They are great starting points, and the libertarian ideals are wonderful, but to make them as a make or break moment at all times, that's the reason why the libertarians have been at this hyperbolic fucking like, you don't know what the fuck we're talking about for fucking 50 years, and no one listens to them because they've been crying. They've been screaming the sky is falling the entire time, and eventually people just don't give a fuck. Now, while I agree that libertarian philosophy is one of the finest ones that man has ever created. If it's so goddamn good, and we all agree that good ideas don't require force, stop forcing that shit down normies' throats because normies will reject it.
Well, do they? I mean, we have gay marriage. We have more drug legalization now than we have in the past. We have a long ways to go, but there are several policy victories, and there are several ways in which, you know, you've had libertarian victories, not by saying, hey, everyone, vote libertarian, or hey, everyone, become a libertarian. But the thing is, you don't need to, because libertarianism plays to something kind of innate, if not contradictory towards certain other impulses, innate within most people. And so I don't know. I think that there's a certain contingent of libertarian policy folks who are kind of barking up the wrong tree in the wrong way. And then there are also
She's starting to
smaller
answer the
libertarians.
post-libertarian question.
I didn't know I was doing that. But
I got a response. I'm just waiting for her to finish.
Yeah, no, and there are also smaller libertarians who are helping to write briefs, who are helping to make people think about issues a little bit differently. So to go more directly to your post-libertarian question, I identify myself as a libertarian for the most part because it makes sense. But I don't think that anyone has to necessarily call themselves anything to support liberty. And I don't think anyone needs to call themselves anything in particular to make a compelling case for liberty. So,
All right.
So Jim, do you want to go first? You want, or
Yeah,
can I
no,
go?
I would. Here's the only thing I would say, and I'm not even going to call it a retort. It's just more of a, this is what I see, and I'm curious what your retort would be, and that is, while I'm questioning libertarianism as far as how I was prescribed it, which I guess makes me a post-libertarian, whatever the fuck that term is.
I don't know what it means.
Listen to my episode with Pete.
And I love Pete. I love Pete. I will constantly argue for pro Tho Bishop and pro Buck Johnson and Pete Quinones.
To preface my episode with Pete, I specifically laid out we are not going to say that P word. We are going to just talk about the journey,
and that's fine.
And take it from
that's
there.
That's fine. I think
we managed to do that for like 80% of the episode, and then like right at the end,
they got you.
Yeah, we said the word.
Those post-libertarians, they'll get you every time.
But it was a really good conversation. So
cool. I'll give it a listen.
Not to toot my own horn, but
please do.
I do recommend checking my episode with Pete out, because we did kind of cover the journey side of going from being more or less neocon to anarchist to libertarian to post-libertarian, kind of in a very linear pattern, and as kind of weird as it may sound, like he and I both kind of had a similar path with that, like over different timelines, but it was a very similar path. So like, I don't think that the post-libertarian ideas are the end of my path. Like, I'm still learning and growing and moving post-libertarian, if that makes sense. Like if I had just stopped there, that would seem disingenuous.
Yeah. The argument that I would make, real quick, the argument that I would make is, for certain people, you have all the ingredients on the table to make your greatest argument ever that have never existed 6, 8, 12 years ago. without sounding like a crazy person. So now everybody has a platform for their own message, whether that be Dave Smith libertarians, post libertarians, Ted
Daniel
Cruz
Durant,
Republicans,
libertarian.
whatever the fuck. I don't care. My point is that while some people are capable of claiming certain things and making a campaign around it, you have a juxtaposition that have never been so great as they are right now. For example, what I say when I mean I don't give a flying fuck what my terminology is. I've read the books. I adhere to the ideology of libertarianism. Who gives a shit? Because while you have more people awakening and questioning the narrative and listening to alternative methods of information, you also have the most wild ass fucking proclamations by governors of the biggest states like Gavin with the good hair. And while at the same point over that time, you have the largest expansion of constitutional gun rights. This isn't linear.
Yeah.
This isn't something that while COVID is winning, we're losing our rights, or while gays are getting married, we're losing our culture. None of those are true. They're all hyperbolic bell cows that get fucking retards to go, oh, I think they're making a good point here.
Also because gay people bring the culture. All right. Like, I love gay culture. Sorry. Go on.
Well, that's up for debate. But
I mean,
my point
I watch
is
RuPaul's Drag
that
Race.
if you're looking for peak freedom, however you define it, the one thing that I think we can all agree upon is the lack of restriction from a governmental side.
Mhm.
And while you have the most overt governmental lockdown on personal rights and freedoms, and Amanda, you went through this on a previous episode with Justin, as far as like you got to spit into a cup and then log into this and then find out if you can walk into that building. That's some shit that would start a war 200 years ago. But because they let gays marry and they let me have my side piece on me, maybe we're willing to look past it. But here's the funny thing: they're not willing to let you have your side piece on you, because if they were trying to pull that shit with an armed society and somebody really didn't like it, outcomes would be different. My whole point is that the time in which to get involved in libertarianism has never been worse. While most people think it's never been greater, I would make the argument that it's never been worse, because you have so many people that are so polarized in what they think as far as how we should be governed. And libertarianism is sitting here going, well, have you heard of this 1976 book from Rothbard? No one gives a flying fuck about that shit. And the ideals of the free market is like Saturday cartoon land compared to what's actually happening in the real world.
You
And
have
so
a
it
messaging
makes
problem.
it makes it difficult to get anyone on our side or think the way that we do with the old trite I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill fucking messaging.
You're saying, well, right. So you're saying that you have a messaging problem. What you're not saying is that it's a bad time to get involved. It's a poor time to use certain strategies when they're not appealing to the general public. But although they would appeal to some people, and so you can use them with some people. But no, I'm agreeing with you that there are certain ways of trying to message that are just not going to be effective for a lot of people right now. But I don't think that means that the critique is with libertarianism. It might be with the Libertarian Party. It might be with libertarian messaging writ large. But I think it's a fantastic time to get involved. And I mean, there's no time more critical to get involved, but that's always true because
The most important election is always the next election.
Mhm.
My thing is look, I understand as much as the next guy that things are fucked. To
Are
think
you
that
involved with the California Mises Caucus and all of that stuff?
I'm tangentially with some LP stuff, not with Mises specifically, just because again I don't like declaring fealty to any particular caucus.
yeah, and I'm
I
with
have nothing
Amanda
against
there.
it.
I'm with Amanda there. I'm a donor to the Mises Caucus, but I'll be honest, they can fully take over 100% of the LPNC, and it still won't affect a single minuscule, just a little TT amount of my actual life.
See,
So
I've said this way too many times. Like I support the Mises Caucus, but here in Indiana, we have a legitimately good state party.
Yeah.
So like I have actively fought the Mises guys against trying to do a takeover of the state.
Yeah.
Because I have to explain to them like our state chair is legitimately really good. Like the whole reason that I met Joe Jorgensen was because I went to his birthday party in Indy and I got to sit with her and just talk to her and hang out. And it
Yeah.
was
No, she's so
fucking
rich.
awesome.
Yeah.
And like I legitimately consider Evan a real friend. Like, and I don't give a fucking shit that he ran Nick Sarwark's campaign for the mayor of Phoenix in when the fuck ever that was 10 years ago. Evan has a legitimate plan to make the Libertarian Party of Indiana a serious competitor that challenges the counties where the Democrats are bad and the Republicans are just as bad and push them to be better.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to push that the Mises Caucus needs to try to stage some sort of a takeover of the state of Indiana when we are actually doing the things that the Libertarian Party should be doing.
here's
So,
all I'll say.
so
I would,
while I support the Mises Caucus personally here in the state, knock that shit off
Mm.
and get behind the state chair who wants to make legit changes. And honestly, even if he may deny it, if he heard me say it, he would probably deny it. We are going to work with the good Republicans to make sure the bad Republicans and the even worse Democrats stay out of office.
Yeah.
Like that is more important than anything else. And if that means either not running a libertarian very hard or running a libertarian in a means that it takes away from the bad Democrats votes and not from the Republican votes,
Yeah.
or running a good libertarian in certain races where it hurts a bad Republican, where that they are forced to reconsider the bullshit that they are engaging in. Like that's the stuff that's important for our state, and that makes legitimate difference. If literally zero libertarians get elected, but we are able to influence the way these motherfuckers think about things and the way that they legislate, then we have made the right difference.
And
And
that
I
is
need the Mises people to understand that there is a plan that we are legitimately working towards making this a actual free state, not
that
just a Republican supermajority state, but an actual free state. Like we need to be behind that.
what you just laid out is exactly what I want to do. And it is what I want to do with my work. It is what I want to do with civil discord. It is what I want to do in any speaking or writing or campaigning or whatever is get people to see things in a slightly different way and honestly kind of be a PR agent for liberty. And I think there's such a great function. There's such a great necessity for that. So yeah, I agree with you there. I think it would be just kind of thinking more randomly, not saying this particular circumstance, but I would love to see, how we have Ron Paul running as a Republican. I want to see a libertarian candidate on the Democrat stage, kind of working as a spoiler in that regard, just because, you come at it.
That's your Cali coming out.
No, dude, no, I'm not kidding, because
No,
otherwise,
I know.
how did Ron Paul get the neocons? He was on that Republican debate stage.
Well, he never got it. He got snuffed out. My whole thing is,
he got the neocons. He got Justin. I was a neocon. I wasn't a Ron Paul convert, but that brought a lot of neocons came to libertarianism because Ron Paul was up there as a Republican. And there are so many ways to pivot toward libertarianism from the left. There are on civil rights, or civil liberties. Not leftists as they are today, but I would love to see someone run as libertarian.
You're getting to the point that I really wanted to make, and that is that as far as the Mises Caucus and the Libertarian Party going after red states, it's like, stop wasting your time. You should
both.
Only, for me, if I was a strategist, I would say go only after the blue states.
All right,
Right
so
now,
Jim
yes.
is in a unique position because he has the worst fucking possible
Takes
candidate
of all time.
in Stacey Abrams and Shane Hazel. I love Shane. I've had great conversations with him. We had even brainstormed and were in the developmental stages of a kid friendly show.
Yeah, I watch those. I got no personal problem with Shane. I don't give a flying fuck that he works for a company that has government contracts.
But my problem is he has the potential to play spoiler to Brian Kemp or whatever his fucking name is and allow Stacey Abrams and her miserable, horrible fucking self to potentially win in Georgia. Like, could there be a possibly worse outcome than that? I don't see it. I don't think there could be. I don't see any positive, beneficial aspect to him running a gubernatorial campaign, other than it spoils it for Brian Kemp and it puts Stacey Abrams in office.
Thank you.
I did not necessarily disagree with it as far as the senatorial campaigns went in 2020 and where it allowed two bad Democratic senators to ultimately end up winning, because it put the House or the Senate in a position where it has allowed Joe Manchin to really kind of show his, really kind of flex his muscles and show who he is and what he is, and be the spoiler for the Democrats. So for me being like super entrenched in all of this dumb bullshit that I probably shouldn't be as entrenched in as what I am, like, I saw that coming. Like, if it came down to a 50-50 split, there are going to be moderate Democrats who are in positions, who are in districts that they cannot side with the progressive bullshit. They're going to have to buck that system, and it's gonna emphasize the split in the Democratic Party, and ultimately that's a good thing. I wasn't opposed to Shane Hazel playing spoiler in Georgia and creating that 50-50 split. Like that's a net sum gain.
I got an
But-
immediate retort when you're done.
But for the governor's position, that is nothing but a loss. Like that is a bad fucking move. That should not be done. As much as I love Shane, that should not be done.
Yeah,
Jim,
no,
did you have
I
Hit
want to
hit me.
I
Tell
want
me
to jump
why
on
I'm
this
wrong
right now.
Tell me why I'm wrong on the Senate thing.
Oh no. No, you're 100% right. I will not be voting for Shane Hazel for governor for Georgia. Because it's literally the most retarded way to leave the house and go vote. It says nothing about Shane as an individual. I don't give a flying fuck about who signs his paychecks. I think the people that get so caught up in that, where they think that they're, revealing something that is so great. Here's the thing. If you think feds are the biggest fucking scare or, structural takedown of libertarianism, you don't know what the fuck you're getting involved in. If we can have the fun ideological game of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, you think that having a fun game with a celebrity that doesn't even give a fuck about you is any different than a Fed? This whole like, oh, who's the Fed? Oh, you the Fed? You're acting like a Fed. Here's the thing. If Feds wanted to get after you, they don't need you to have a game about it. They would already be there. As someone that was raised by Feds and grew up with Feds, they don't need your mysticism about them. They'll just be there.
to go to
If Shane Hazel worked for whatever fucking company, Halliburton or whatever the fuck, don't care.
Okay,
Don't
you're talking about-
fucking care.
trying
I
to figure out the
genuinely do not give a shit. What I give a shit about is if he's running against other Republicans here in my home state of Georgia, and the only opponent to that is Stacey Abrams, I'm going to be anti Shane Hazel. I'm going to be anti the guy that is not going to already get the majority of the fucking vote, that is going to give us a better chance at getting Stacey Abrams.
I think to zoom out,
Bad libertarian I
there's
might be.
a really great point that's been made, which is that right now, Republicans as a whole are much more content with Republicans in leadership than Democrats are content with the Democrat leadership. There's a lot more dissent. There's a lot more. If I were a libertarian strategist, if there's anyone who wants to rescue me and pay me money so that I can get out of California and live in Chicago as a libertarian strategist, or Detroit, what I would be
You're
doing.
tugging on it too much.
If I had
okay.
$1 million, I get you out of all those hellholes. But I'm a poor black man.
What I would be doing is I would be saying, target the Democrats, because that is where there is more discontent. Right now, Republicans are relatively speaking, happy with the Republican leadership. Democrat voters are not. And the issues on which they're unhappy with the Democrat leadership are things where libertarians are pretty good, like education, again, surveillance, pharma, all of that stuff. So that's where I would go.
All I'm saying is I am a 1,000,000% Georgia boy. I've already look at me. Look at this shit I'm wearing. Look at the helmets behind me. Look at all the dumb shit behind me. I got fucking newspapers that I'm, holding for my friends. I'm about to be the biggest fucking non-political advertisement for culture in my state, and none of it has anything to do with Shane Hazel. I don't give a flying fuck where he worked. If he was the best guy that had the best chance to win, I'd be 1,000,000% behind him. But he isn't, because he's in a red state that's acting purple. And the one thing that we cannot have is fucking Stacey Abrams anywhere close to a seat of power. So sorry, Shane, but in this instance, You don't matter.
That's exactly why you come at it from the left. Because if you had a candidate who was a spoiler for Stacey Abrams, who's a libertarian,
No,
if Shane Hazel, I know,
Shane,
but
Shane
I'm
needs
not
to run
saying
as
Shane.
a local state representative
Good.
and show his fucking worth
Good.
and
I'm
not
not
run.
saying Shane. I'm not talking about Shane. I'm
I
talking.
am because I know
know
that he's a personality that might actually watch this, and I hope that he fucking
Okay.
sees this. And I'm in a
All right.
chat with him. I could probably just direct message him. But my point
tell him.
is run for something where you're overseeing your own area and prove to the rest of these retards that you are capable of this. Don't just come out of the fucking blue and go for the entire state. Like that is a death wish politically. You fucking retard. Stop trying to tackle things larger than yourself. You're not there yet. You're
Pete
not
has said it multiple
capable.
times. Like Shane would make for an incredible mayor.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
there's
he
no
would be
reason for
wonderful,
him to
but he's
run
not
for-
capable nor qualified to go for the offices that he's reaching out for. He is self-sabotaging his own shit, and when he fails, he will decry, "Oh, I didn't have the support, or people didn't do that." Go for something you can win. Go for something you can fucking win, and then get back to me. I fucking love you, Shane, but stop going after shit that you cannot win. If you want libertarianism and liberty ideals and the whole idea of the death cult to supersede your local little ideas, go for seats you can win. Stop being Willy Wonka and an idea of fucking in a political chocolate factory. It's fucking embarrassing. I love you. You're better than this. Win the things you can win. Stop going for shit you can't. For fuck's sakes. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know that was a little more impassioned than where we were, but I live in Georgia. This is my home fucking state. He went to a rival high school in Snellville. He was a Brookwood Bronco, and I was a South Gwinnett Comet.
Easy, you're gonna dox yourself.
I know, and I don't care. My point is that I graduated in a class of 2000, so good luck. Find me.
God, really? I
He's
graduated
not.
in a class of 50.
He's not the person that is at the place that he thinks he is. He just isn't.
Meanwhile, if
So
you're running in a purple state, pivot from the left right now.
all I'm saying is do whatever you can to beat Stacey Abrams, and you don't have to go for the entire state to beat her. You keep Kemp in, you run for a state Senate seat, you fucking team up with Kemp, you get over the bullshit, and you fucking wreck Abrams. It's not that hard. This is some easy, rudimentary political shit. And the fact that he's running this whole like, oh, I'm going against the murder cult. I love you, but stop it. You're hurting what you're going after. And it's fucking embarrassing at a certain point. And I want him to do better because I have higher expectations for him than he seems to have for himself. I love you, Shane. Reach out to me. Give me a holler. I would love to hash out strategy. But what you're doing now ain't it. Go Dogs.
I really can't argue with that. Like, so here in Indiana, we have
See, how
State-
retarded would it be that I have the answers and now I go, well, maybe I should run. That's what he
is
did.
it in Indiana?
see,
that
like
you-
here in Indiana, we have a couple state representatives that are really good, as far as like the liberty type stuff go, and they're unable to get stuff done because they're up against like the Bush style GOP types. It would be fucking retarded for us as the libertarians to run people against them. Like that does no good.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong.
Where we
love
should
Shane.
be running people, is against the legitimately bad Republicans
Yeah.
who have supported lockdowns, who have fought against less gun control, who have fought against constitutional carry, the Republicans who have been supportive of mass mandates and all of the bullshit that this supposedly Republican governor has stood for, like all of
It's
the
easy as
things.
shit. Run Mises people in blue counties where they severely don't like it, and then get a immediate 2 election cycle 76 or plus percent return or flip, and then now go sell yourself to donors.
And see, he even
That's
here,
not
like
hard.
we don't even need to run Mises people in those counties. We just need to run a good libertarian in those counties,
Yeah,
and
no, it's simple as shit, but
we
it's
have good libertarians in place. Like we don't need to be
but
challenging.
but
We
people
don't
would
need to be
rather get
challenging
bogged down.
the good the good Republicans.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We need to be pushing the bad Republicans out.
Yeah.
Thank you. But
And that's like
it's too
that's
difficult.
something
It's
that
too
people
difficult
don't seem
for
to get.
autistic asses to not get hung up on the fact that some bitch named Sarah is showing her ass on Twitter, and that brings everybody into a, well, I don't know, is that a violation of the NAP? Stop being so retarded that you stop winning shit. Go win shit, libertarians. And I'm not saying this to you, Justin, or to you, Amanda.
I was very offended because I was about to show my ass on Twitter.
Well,
So.
Damn
if
it,
you
Jim!
did,
You fucked it up. You just fucked it all up.
I'm just
Here's the
saying,
door
like,
ass, and then
so
you
that's
talked her
where
out of it.
that's what I sound like when I get serious. Stop being such fucking faggots. You don't understand what politicism is, or your politics are. If you're gonna get into the game of politics, learn how to fucking win it before you start declaring that you're in politics. It should be it should be something that we come back to see. Oh, they were doing politics. Don't give people the spoiler before you give them the movie. Go win the shit in politics and then come back and let me know that you're winning in politics. I think libertarians are just too much on top of their own bullshit. They like smelling their own farts to the degree that they don't understand. They don't know how to wield power. And they talk a lot of shit about what power does negatively to people, that they don't even understand
Yeah.
what it means to actually have it, what it takes to get it,
Well, they're
much
terrified of
less
having
what
it.
it takes to keep it. And since they've never had it, kept it, or have earned it, we all look like fucking assholes.
That's the problem with a
So,
lot of libertarians is that
yeah.
they're anti-power, which is, I mean, I think you should have a lot of power over your own life. But a lot of libertarians conflate power and leadership, which I think, or totalitarianism and leadership. You can have a libertarian who practices amazing leadership and who is an amazing leader and is not a complete power-hungry warlord. So I think one of the biggest problems is that some of the libertarians whom I'd like to see taking more of a stand on certain things are afraid to because they are uncomfortable with leading.
Yeah, because they're pussies. They think that power immediately implies implementation of force, and they don't understand the game in which they're in. You need to, and this is my message to libertarians out there, you need to stop being such pussies about the idea of wielding power and get a little more comfortable with the idea that you got to take the power away from those that are capable and wanting to wield it against your adversaries.
See,
And
Jim's not looking at me. Otherwise, he'd see the giddy look in my face. See, I want to cut you off a little bit. This
that's
is
fine.
why I am not a huge proponent of the NAP, because we are in a situation societally where, for lack of a better way of saying it, aggression is the appropriate response to what is going on. Using an aggressive position to actively move against the opposition is a necessity in promoting a more free society.
I would
Is
say
that a
assertion.
libertarian position? Probably not.
No, I
But
think it is. Sorry, you can.
no,
Well,
go
no,
ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say again. There's kind of a, insofar as I think that the non-aggression principle gets thrown around a lot without much of an explanation of what it means, and it's kind of to everyone's detriment.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right that now, and it always has been, the time for assertion and assertiveness. And that can be forceful without being violent. I would argue for a much more assertive stance than what we're currently seeing. And again,
I would make the argument that aggression is the appropriate response in specific situations. That violence may not be the answer all the time, but it depends on the question. And
It's Ecclesiastes.
maybe
I don't think I
because
remember reading
it's
that
the
in
way.
time for war,
Maybe
time for
it's
peace.
because
Maybe
of the way that I was raised very rurally with a more or less conspiracy theorist type father. I look at certain situations, especially the one that we are living through right now, and it feels like aggression and active overthrowing of some of the bullshit that's going on may actually be the appropriate and the most beneficial response to the question of how do we fix this insane bullshit? Because if there's not some extreme response, it doesn't end. I mean, look at the last 2 years. It has progressively gotten worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, but the problem is, and I think that it depends on how we're defining overthrowing, right? So it is very, in addition to being other things, it is poor optics to do certain things, and it's also just not effective. It doesn't. I am not at the point. Oh my gosh, Dougie. I'm sorry. I completely lost. We have a new guest. Hi there, baby. Oh. Yeah. Anyway, I would absolutely argue for assertion, and I would argue for, being powerful, being a leader, speaking out. And I love your dog.
Hey, buddy boy.
Hey.
All right, you want to go down? You want
How big is that dog?
to go to bed?
Oh.
Hey. All right, Bubba.
All right, so this is my boy Buddy.
Hi, buddy.
He's never been on a podcast before, so he's a little stage fright.
Oh. Well, you look great, buddy.
He's like, Dad, just please let me
Put
go
me
to bed.
down. Can I just not do this? Thank you.
Oh,
You want to go down?
buddy, you're a star.
You want to go down? Come on.
Yeah, so put me down for it. I'm not a secessionist, but I certainly think you can be assertive without without violent takeovers and the like.
Yes, I do. I know.
I guess the best way to kind of clarify it is I have absolutely no desire for violent takeover type situations, but I am 100% prepared for it.
Well, you saw my fucking weapon. He's got full of fur, and he fucking is very unhappy that somebody cut his balls out. So he's ready to fight. No, but it's all right. Well, let's bring this thing home because we've established quite a bit
Sweet.
of common ground.
Right. I'm not in a state that violent insurrection would be necessary.
Oh no, I'm just making sure that the feds hear that.
Yeah.
Because I was worried about your door getting broken down for a second there.
See, that's funny because we were sitting in the hot tub one day, and
Oh shit.
Jim might have heard this conversation, this story before. So we were sitting in the hot tub one day, and my wife and I were having some conversations about this type of stuff. And I said, it's a good thing that our phones aren't out here, because if the NSA agents who listen to my phone heard what we're saying, they would probably be rolling up in the driveway right now. And my escape pants are in the washing machine. And my wife looked me dead in the eyes and she said, "No, they're in the dryer." I was like, "Wait, you know which pants I'm talking about?" She's like, "Yeah, you're talking about your khaki dickies, right?" I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, she already knows. Like, we're on the same page. This is all good. Like, when it happens, it's gonna work out.
See, the thing with me is like I've heard about the whole like put your cell phones in a fucking lockbox or a microwave back in 2012. I hear you, buddy. I'm sorry, dude.
Oh man, I had a guy that came in. So when I was a sales specialist at Lowe's, I had a guy that came in and he was wanting to buy some like flooring and stuff, and so I found the shit that he was looking for, and he pulls out his phone out of his pocket, and it's wrapped in aluminum foil, and it's got duct tape all over it. So he starts like pulling the aluminum foil off and the duct tape off, and he takes a picture of the UPC that he's needing for this stuff, and then he immediately starts wrapping it all back up, and he's like, they're paying attention, they're watching, like, you can't be too careful. I'm like, all right, like, yeah, I get it. If they want to come after
Yes, you
me,
can.
like, they already know
It's
where I
so
live.
asinine to listen to normie people trying to figure out what the fuck they do or don't know or how much
No one's
effort
a
they will
normie.
put. I'm not saying that I'm some level of like blessed fed level of like understanding, but it's like I'll never forget when I was a child, when I was a fucking child back in the 90s, when I was watching like local Fox 5 Atlanta news, further doxing if you're keeping track, where I was sitting there with my stepdad with a fucking 3-finger scotch drink with 2 solid ice cubes in it. And he wanted to come home and watch the news with his gold-toed fucking black socks and his basketball shorts and a wife beater because he was like, I want to see how the news portrays what the fuck I did today. And I sat down with him and I was like, hey, what's up, Pops? Fucking let's watch it. And he pointed out every single thing the media got wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the guy that they talked to. That's not where we actually were. That's not what we were there for. And that lady is dating the guy that's over on camera 2. And I was like, oh, well, that sounds like far too much to actually give a shit about. And then if your audience doesn't know, Justin, not that this has any value to it, but it explains why I would know what I am about to say now. My dad was a police officer killed in the line of duty when I was 10 years old. As I became older and I started doing personal face-to-face interviews with the local media, as anniversaries hit and new laws were passed and whatever, they really wanted to talk to me. And so I talked to them. And I can't tell you how many conversations I had with them that were never released to the public because none of them ever fucking gave them the reason to say that there should be more control over drunk people. And that always stuck with me when growing up with my stepdad, who did like FBI raids, where he was like, no, that's not what we were there for. And that guy doesn't, and he was just pointing out fake, 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 fake. And then when I got to a point where I was talking to them for 45 minutes and they used 6 minutes of a clip of something that I said between hiccups, I was like, dude, fake, fake, fake,
Yeah.
fake, 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 fake.
That's
This
really
was
funny that
this
you
was
said that.
15 years before Trump He was
Oh,
not a genius man. He just
That's
pointed
really
out
funny
the
that you said that
obvious.
because
Well, that's just a
I was
pattern of behavior.
I was a baseball coach at a small county school in the early 2000s, and at the time the county clerk had been stealing funds from the clerk's office, basically to fund her own dumb bullshit.
Yeah.
Those were funds that, like, those were specifically supposed to go to the baseball program at the county high school, the program that I was fucking coaching on, that I was pouring personal money into to buy catcher's equipment and baseball bats because we didn't have funding. And then we come to find out that the goddamn county clerk has been embezzling money and and turning it back into her own fucking accounts. And the local news showed up. Like, I think they didn't realize what they were getting themselves into. Like, they were just they just set up shop at a local gas station and were interviewing random ass people who were walking into the gas station. And I was the
Yeah.
fucking baseball coach. And so they asked me about it. And I went on like a 20-minute tirade about how, like, what bullshit it was that she was stealing funds from our program specifically, and like all of this stuff. And then, like, when I go back to school the next morning, my 8 a.m. Ag tech class professor was like, "Hey, I saw you on the news last night, and you said this and this and this." I'm like, "That's a minute and a half of 20 minutes of what I actually said about how fucked up what this bitch fucking did to our program, to our county, to our actual school." Like, they
Yeah.
portrayed me as some dumbass fucking redneck who was mad because she was robbing funds from the baseball program, and didn't go into the entirety of the conversation where I laid out why it was fucking criminal what she had done. Like, oh
Exactly.
my gosh,
So
that shit fucking pisses me off so much.
So that's why I say for every libertarian, there's like, oh, cops are the fucking bitches, all ACAB. Go fuck yourself. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about because you've never lived what it actually means. What you actually hate is the state enforcement of state law. And furthermore, you just got exposed over the last 5 years that the media just may very well be lying to you. So pick one and stick with it. And if you're trying to tackle cops are all bad because I listen to Michael Malice and I'm a fucking retard, and the media is lying to me. Well, congratulations. You are fully playing into their fucking hand. As someone who was born and raised and well, raised by law enforcement, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about to every libertarian and to every normie that thinks that all cops are bastards. You've all been played. You've all fallen for the fucking same shit. And you're no better than Michael Malice. And if you think Michael Malice is a savior, you're equally retarded. The man doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's a Russian that moved to New York, that then went to Austin and thinks he understands America. Not even close.
I enjoy Malice because he's a professional troll.
I enjoy-
but that's it. Like,
I
he's a
enjoy
professional
him,
troll.
but if you want to know what cops actually think when they're reaching your door before they kill your dog, I'd be happy to talk. Do I think it's good? No. Do I understand why it happens? Yes. That's the difference between philosophers and realists. A lot of people read a lot of books by a lot of peoples that think they got it all figured out, but they don't know fuck about shit when it comes to what actually happens. And the demonization of people that actually go out there and do it versus the people that think about it all day is a very wide canyon. And I'm fucking over people that think they got it all figured out because they read a handful of books. Your books don't mean shit when the real shit is going down. That's, hey, buddy, keep it down. My dog's over there fucking protesting. My point is is your library does not supplant real life. Your ideas are amalgamations of others' ideas. And I would rather live in the real world. And I've seen it first person, up close and personal. Um, Cops aren't killing black people for sport. Cops aren't just killing libertarians because they hate liberty. You've been misled. Sorry to tell you. Even Pete Quiñones's fucking documentary that all cops are bad. Well, that's a very shallow take, and he's a retard for making it. I love the man as a person. I hate libertarian values the way they've been implemented, where they make people so goddamn tribal they can't look beyond their own ass. People have lost their goddamn minds because of what I said earlier, where everybody wants to try to find their tribe and be the most right in their tribe. All of you are getting it wrong because none of you are leaving nuance as far as the actual true human dynamic that exists within all of us. You're all fucking up. Stop doing that.
I'm gonna need to dip, but it has been so cool hanging out with you guys for this long, and I would be hanging out with you longer if I weren't very tired and didn't have a game theory class tomorrow. So
Give us your closing statement then.
my closing statement is that people should listen or watch the Fact Check podcast and listen to Ignore the Rant as well as Civil Discord. And that right now it's always good to pivot. It's good to pivot from the left and blue states. And Machiavelli was right about just about everything. So, you know, tumults are necessary.
Fuck yeah, Amanda.
All right. Cheers,
Thank
guys.
you so much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun.
This is a blast. Love to do it again.
We will definitely do it again.
All right. Bye.
And then there
right,
was two.
I guess we're gonna cut out because I should probably get some sleep at some point.
Oh yeah, no, I for sure gotta go. It's 2:30 or 2:40 or 2:50 my time. I should have been in bed 2 hours ago. I went on a.
I feel like I heard you say this like 3 nights ago.
Yeah, no, I went on a pretty severe rant because I'm tired of it. And I'll keep it short, but I'm tired of libertarians thinking that they have all the shit figured out. You don't. I love you. You mean the best. Shane Hazel should not run for fucking governor for Georgia. He's fucking up. And libertarians thinking that they know how to end a murder cult or whatever the fuck they think. They're retarded. The best thing that you can possibly do for liberty is to infiltrate every mechanism of a winning political ideology and just seep in and then have patience. Have patience because it takes time to change minds. Stop being so goddamn impatient where you think that you are so wonderful that everybody should agree with you on the basis of you just existing. It's fucking embarrassing. I just flat out don't think that libertarians understand how real life works, and they get stuck in their little echo chambers just like anybody else. And I love them. God love them. But they need to stop being so goddamn self-important. And that goes for liberty thoughts, liberty wiggers, liberty rappers, liberty podcasters. None of us are that important. Take yourself down a few notches and, I don't know, get back to me in 20 years. So, yeah, I said something to that effect last time, and I'm going to stick to it because it's pretty fucking hella gay that everyone thinks that they have the answers, and you don't. You don't. You have good ideas. You have good ideas that you're echoing from other dead people that said that shit 70 years ago. And I think it's quite embarrassing that that's the representation of libertarianism. Oh, I got everything figured out. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have fuck all figured out. you have some good ideas that you want to repeat, and I agree with you. You should repeat them, and you should have a podcast where you repeat them. But stop acting like any of us have any clue as to what the correct answer for whatever the fuck we're in right now is. It ain't libertarianism, because look around, ain't nobody buying it other than the people that were already here before you got here. I think I don't think it's bad for libertarianism to have a bit of a harsh critique. And if that's too much for it to stand up to, then it's never going to win. So give it the harshest critique possible at all times. And if it can withstand it, then maybe it's worth pursuing. But if it can't
No,
withstand it,
you're-
then it's fucking worthless.
You're 100% right. Like that's the reason I stayed out of like libertarianism for
Yeah.
basically from 2007 until 2020 is because, as far as I could tell, it was fucking useless.
Mm-hmm.
And if it weren't for the fact that the state of Indiana had a really good gubernatorial candidate in 2020, I probably would have continued to stay out of it.
Yeah.
But we had a really good governor candidate, and he was going up against a really bad Republican and an even worse Democrat. And so it felt like there was something legitimately there, especially when, after like the first debate, he was hitting like 86% saying that he won. And after this, after the second debate, he was still hitting upwards of 80% saying that he won. And it felt like there was this legitimate possibility
Mm-hmm.
that this, like, completely outsider libertarian could unseat a really bad Republican. And then at the end of the day, he got 13% of the vote,
Woohoo.
which for a libertarian candidate
It's
is
great.
fucking
It's-
amazing.
It's over 10 to 20 times what they are expected to get. And that's fine. My whole point
Fucking
is
amazing.
is
But-
there's so many people making a life out of this shit, thinking that, if you don't, it's so easy to hear this alternative message where you think, well, everybody should think like I do, and all it becomes is just another method of what you left, and now all you're doing is getting a giant boner over people that are saying what you want to hear. But you look around and you're like, there's only like 4,000 of us in a state of like 17 million. Yeah, you're worthless. You're fucking worthless. Figure out a way to get your message over to those other people, aka relate to normies, and get out of this whole idea of like, oh, sports ball. Here's the thing: sports ball is the most popular thing in America right now. Figure out how to relate to normies using sports ball and get back to me. Like I said earlier, if you think that Mises and Hoppian or any of this other shit is so great, which I agree with you. I'm not an enemy here. I think Tho Bishop is the one that's actually doing the most work in this effort. But my point is if you think that these ideas are the greatest ideas that humanity should ever know about, stop keeping them to yourself. And the way that you stop keeping them to yourself is give up libertarian podcast communities and go out there and be a normie. Go mention this shit to normies, because as long as you stay in the same avenue where people already agree with you, you're not gaining shit.
See, I can't do that because they actually pay me.
I know, and you're a special case, and I love what you do, and you keep doing exactly what the fuck you're doing. I'm just keeping this up here because the people that are self-loathing enough to wait 3 hours to be ridiculed and be told you're doing it wrong, who knows? maybe they might have a little bit of fucking backbone behind them and actually change their fucking act.
I mean, to be fair, it's like 5 days later and 2 hours later, like 5 hours total before they get to this point of the.
Oh, that's
Is this-
fine. It's 2:45 real time local time here, Atlanta Eastern Standard Time. I'm still fucking hungover from the Bulldogs winning a natty for the first time in 41 years. So I honestly don't give a flying fuck about politics. However, I can't stop it saying that we've been doing it wrong. Look around you. Do you have more liberty because of libertarianism? The answer is no. And you're doing it wrong then. So let's do something different. I don't know. Fuck it, man. However we used to do it, let's stop doing that shit. And let's do something different. Just a wild fucking shot in the dark. Let's just give it another go that we haven't done before. Because what we've done before has got us this far. Are we
which
libertarian?
isn't very far, if we're being honest.
Exactly. So even if we got everything we wanted, it's still and here's the thing. Here's my whole point. Relate to normies. Listen to Kirby Smart talk about Nick Saban. Post-game conference that happened this morning. Kirby Smart, the coach of my Georgia Bulldogs, now has the biggest task in front of him. And the biggest task was not winning the national championship. It's what do you do now that you've won it? How do you now he's actually went out
How
and
do you
found
not
himself.
become Auburn? How do you not become Auburn?
Now he went out and actually found success, which is what libertarians are very unfamiliar with.
How
He's
do
not-
you not become Auburn?
He's not only telling you what it's like to win, but he's telling you what it's like to continue to win. And if you want something that's a little more outdated, go listen to Nick Saban and every fucking post-game speech he's ever had. The blueprint is there. You just got to get the fuck out of your political mindset way. Like, life is not about, oh, dude, have you ever heard of Jeremy Tucker? Yeah, Bowtie Man. You know about the Mises Institute? They got all the answers, man. You know about Scott Horton or Hop? Dude, I'm telling you, we are going to figure out. Here's the thing. Normies don't give a flying fuck. They don't know what you're talking about. Stop being the smartest guy in the room. Be the most fucking regular guy in the room with the best ideas. Try that on for size. Stop being so fucking smart you're autistically repulsive and get more fucking people on your side. And maybe we can make a change. I don't know. I know that is like kryptonite to the libertarian market, Justin. So I understand if you never want me on your show again, but I can't fucking take all these goddamn retards thinking that they know better than the normies that they're trying to influence. Stop being so smart that normies don't know who the fuck you are. It's simple. It's the simplest thing ever. Just stop being weird. And go out there and get some ass.
That's interesting because that's like, I'm sure you follow him and see it. Like when Ace starts on his incessant quote tweeting tirades,
They're
going against these people.
They're
like,
wonderful escapades and principalitarianism. But you know what? They're drying up vaginas every word.
fucking useless.
Yeah. Who gives a
Fucking
flying
useless.
fuck?
Like every time I see one of those, I'm just like, there is a 0% chance I give a single solitary fuck about anything that's going on here.
I'm not above
this
loving
is
the people
not-
that are in this environment. I love Ace. I love El Popo. I love Timeline Earth. I love all the retards that don't know they're not doing anything.
But when I see that, my immediate reaction is there is no possible good that comes from this.
Yeah.
No
one gives a fuck.
Nobody is looking at this and thinking, oh, you're making rational, reasonable, thoughts and
Well, he did
persuasions
have a
that are going to bring
12-hour.
me over to believing what you are saying.
Nah, bro, he had a 12-hour fucking diatribe. It's libertarianism for all after that. No one gives a fuck.
I already believe what you're saying, and I don't want anything to fucking do with it.
Yeah, no. You're
Nobody
fucking
who
you're making
is
things
on the
creepy.
outside looking in is going to see that and think, "Oh, this is the place for me. I've been missing out on this."
Yeah, we didn't
But
get
at the
here.
same time, nobody is looking at Sarah and Ashton Birdie and any of the Liberty thoughts
No.
and saying, "Oh my God, this is what I've been missing in my life. I want to go get a part of this."
It's simple as fuck, man. It's like, look, I'm gonna be at a national championship parade on Saturday. There's gonna be millions of people there, or at least hundreds of thousands. I'm gonna go engage with normies who don't give a flying fuck and have never heard of who the fuck Hans Hermann Hoppe is. And all of those people have likely voted against my own interest. And I'm gonna go engage with them. And I'm gonna find a relatable event that I will become their family member for that moment in time. And it will not come because of a political affiliation. Now, my political affiliation will be there to answer follow-up questions, to maybe get them to think a little different. But if that's your entire life, you're missing the point of life. To me, the point of life is to be a good steward to other individuals that are trying to figure out this fucked up thing that we all know that is life. Politics is something that man created. Fuck that. If you want the desirable outcome that lives within politics, become a better person. Figure out how to relate to people. Go out there in normal settings where other people that don't know what the fuck you're talking about are interested to hear about what you're talking about. So I will be doing my part this Saturday by going to Athens, Georgia, and hopefully I'll meet Tho Bishop. That would be a highlight for me. Tho, if you're hearing this, get your fucking ass out to Athens. Let's ring the boys in the way that they should be, and that is with a goddamn Go Dogs. And I don't know why this is so difficult for fucking libertarians. They'd rather show their ass and get upset when people call them out for being fucking hoes. It's low effort shit. You should be better than that. I don't care what your ass looks like. The internet exists. I can find 55,000 different asses that look just like yours. Be better than that. Dude, if I don't stop, I'm just gonna keep. I'm just gonna keep going.
Say it's
So
really
stop
cute
me.
that you were that you were pitching something on Saturday, and when this one will release until Monday. But I appreciate the effort, and though if you hear this after the fact, I don't know.
Tho is my homeboy. He's a damn good dog, and that's all he knows what that means.
I don't know that he actually listens to this, but it would be cool if he did.
I'll clip it and
So
I'll
if
send
you
it
listen
directly
this,
to him and
leave
be
us
like,
leave us a 5-star review and a comment
hold on.
in Apple Podcasts or on YouTube. Jim's gonna put on a helmet and really send us out on the right foot. Give us like a yell, Jim. Like really sell the bulldog. I don't think that's gonna work.
This is the moment Tho's gonna watch. We're gonna clip this and we're gonna send it to him, and I'm gonna let him know. What up, Tho? Love you, bro. You're a damn good dog. You were up in Indy. Now it's time to bring the dogs home the right way in Athens on Saturday. I'll see you, motherfucker. Go down.
That was impressive. All right.
Goddamn right.
And for anybody who's actually watching this on Monday, I will be back on Tuesday night with a Mystery Theater 3000, Mystery Science Theater 3000 edition of reviewing the Minority Report with the Liberty Dad and Mark Metz. So hopefully you enjoy that episode, and go go check out Ignore the Rant and Civil Discord and Whiskey and Tea with C.D. McCrae. Although she wasn't on this portion of the podcast, but whatever, you should still go check her out as well. And hopefully you have a great rest of your day. Check us out on Tuesday evening, live stream reviewing Minority Report. Have a good one.